Here's a approximately 1,500 word emotional story version you can use for YouTube storytelling. Do you have an expired cake for my daughter? The millionaire heard everything. The small bakery on Maple Street was warm and filled with the comforting smell of fresh bread and vanilla frosting. It was a quiet afternoon, and only a few customers sat at the tiny tables by the window. Behind the counter, the young cashier was arranging colorful cakes in the display case: chocolate fudge, strawberry cream, vanilla sponge, and red velvet. Each cake looked perfect, too perfect for someone like Maria Lopez. Maria stood near the door, clutching her worn handbag tightly. Her clothes were clean but old, and the tired look in her eyes told the story of sleepless nights and endless worries. She glanced at the cakes again. Today was her daughter Lily's 7th birthday, and Maria had exactly $3 in her purse. She swallowed hard before slowly approaching the counter. "Excuse me," she said softly. The cashier looked up politely. "Yes, ma'am." Maria hesitated. Her voice almost disappeared as she spoke. "Do you have any cakes that are expired?" The cashier blinked in confusion. "Expired?" "Yes," Maria said quickly, embarrassed. "Sometimes stores throw away cakes that are a day old. I was wondering if you might have one. It doesn't need to look perfect." She forced a small smile. "It's my daughter's birthday today, and I just wanted her to have a cake." The bakery suddenly felt very quiet. The cashier looked uncomfortable. She glanced toward the manager in the back. I'm sorry," she said gently. "We usually don't give those away." Maria nodded quickly. "It's okay. I understand." She turned slightly, trying to hide the tears forming in her eyes. But someone else in the bakery had heard everything. At a table near the window sat a man in a simple gray suit. He had been quietly drinking coffee and reading emails on his phone. His name was Daniel Carter. And although he looked like an ordinary customer, Daniel was actually a multi-millionaire investor who owned several businesses across the city. But what most people didn't know was that Daniel once understood exactly what Maria was feeling. Because 25 years earlier, he had been a hungry kid standing in a bakery just like this. And his mother had asked the same question. "Do you have anything old we could take home?" Daniel slowly set down his coffee. He watched Maria as she walked toward the door. Her shoulders were heavy, like someone carrying a life full of struggles. He stood up. "Excuse me," Daniel said kindly. Maria turned, surprised. "Yes, I couldn't help overhearing," he said gently. "You said it's your daughter's birthday." Maria looked embarrassed again. "Yes, Lily turns 7 today." Daniel smiled. 7 is a very important age. Maria forced a polite smile. "I just wanted her to feel special, even if it's something small." Daniel looked at the display case of beautiful cakes. Then he turned to the cashier. "Hi," he said calmly. "Could you please pack that chocolate cake?" He pointed to the largest cake in the display. It was covered in glossy chocolate frosting with strawberries on top. Maria quickly shook her head. "Oh no, sir, please don't." Daniel raised a hand kindly. "It's all right, but that cake is expensive," Maria said anxiously. Daniel smiled. "Birthdays should be sweet." The cashier boxed the cake carefully. Maria stood there frozen. I can't accept this," she whispered. Daniel gently placed the cake box into her hands. "Yes, you can." Tears filled Maria's eyes. "You don't even know us." Daniel looked thoughtful for a moment. "You're right," he said. "But I do know what it feels like to want to give your child something you can't afford." Maria looked surprised. Daniel continued softly. "When I was 10, my mother worked 2 jobs. One day she asked a bakery for leftover bread so we could eat dinner." He smiled faintly. "I never forgot the man who helped us that day." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. Daniel looked at her kindly. "What's your daughter's name again?" "Lily." "Well," Daniel said with a smile, "Lily deserves candles too." He turned to the cashier. "And please add candles and balloons." The cashier smiled and nodded. Soon Maria stood there holding a beautiful cake, candles, and colorful balloons. She could barely speak. "I don't know how to thank you." Daniel shook his head gently. "Just promise me something." Maria nodded quickly. "When life gets better, and it will, help someone else the way you were helped today." Maria wiped her tears. "I promise." She left the bakery holding the cake like it was the most precious treasure in the world. Daniel watched her go, but he wasn't finished. He turned to the cashier. "Do you happen to know where she works?" The cashier thought for a moment. "I think she mentioned working at the laundromat down the street." Daniel nodded slowly. "Thank you." That evening, in a tiny apartment across town, Lily sat at the small kitchen table drawing pictures. When the door opened, she ran to her mother. Mommy. Maria knelt down and hugged her tightly. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Then she placed the cake on the table. Lily's eyes grew wide. A cake? Yes. With strawberries? Maria laughed softly. Yes. Lily jumped with excitement. This is the best birthday ever. Maria lit the candles while Lily made a wish. She closed her eyes tightly before blowing them out. Maria watched her daughter smile. And for the first time in months, Maria felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. The next morning, Maria arrived at the laundromat early for her shift. But something strange was happening. The owner stood inside talking to a man in a gray suit. Maria froze. It was Daniel. Good morning, Daniel said warmly. Maria looked confused. Sir, what are you doing here? The laundromat owner smiled. Maria, this gentleman just bought the building. Maria blinked in shock. What? Daniel smiled. And I heard this place needed a new manager. Maria's eyes widened. Manager. Yes, Daniel said. Someone hardworking, honest, and kind. Maria looked overwhelmed. But I've never managed anything before. Daniel shrugged lightly. Neither had my mother. Maria couldn't believe what she was hearing. Why are you doing this for me? Daniel paused for a moment. Then he answered quietly. Because someone once helped my family when we needed it most. He smiled gently. And sometimes the smallest moment changes everything. Maria wiped away tears again. I won't let you down. Daniel nodded. I know. A year later, the laundromat had been completely renovated. Maria was now the proud manager. The business was thriving, but something else had changed too. Every Friday evening, Maria brought fresh cupcakes to the nearby children's shelter. And every child there got a candle and a birthday song. Because Maria had kept her promise. One afternoon, Daniel visited the laundromat again. Lily ran up to him happily. Mr. Daniel. She handed him a cupcake. This one is for you. Daniel smiled. Thank you. Then Lily asked innocently. Mommy says you helped us because someone helped you once. Is that true? Daniel nodded. Yes. Lily thought for a moment. Then she said something that made Daniel's heart warm. Then I'm going to help someone too when I grow up. Daniel laughed softly. That's exactly how kindness works. Maria looked at her daughter proudly. Because sometimes, all it takes to change the future is a cake that someone thought was too small to matter. If you want, I can also make. Checkmark a viral YouTube title. Checkmark thumbnail text. Checkmark SEO description plus tags. Checkmark another 1500 word story like this, even more emotional.